Good afternoon. My name is Michael Bryant. Today I'm going to go over my research paper, a multi-level analysis of the relationship between institutional practices and retention in computer science. The table of content, keywords and acronyms, retention in computer science, how computer science retention is examined, perception of the classroom, learning goal types, retention data sample, survey-based data collection, students' perception of the classroom knowledge building scale, Nebraska assessment of computing knowledge, multi-level model, results, conclusion, future research, and my citations. Keywords and acronyms, computer science education, which covers the spectrum between computer engineering to computer science to cybersecurity. Retention in this paper is talking about retaining computer science education majors and computer science majors. Multi-level model is the research method used. I'll be explaining that further in the slides that are upcoming. Cooperative learning is groups that are different levels learning a topic. Student-centered classrooms is a student-paced classroom. And I starred the teacher directness, as mentioned a lot in the paper. And teacher's directness is when the teacher stops twice to get your attention or does some kind of notion or highlight it saying this will be on the test. And I'll explain that deeper further in the presentation. Retention in computer science. Computer science has a long history of low retention. This paper is centered around these elements. Participants were recruited from 25 sections of 14 different courses over 4 semesters. Prior research was conducted on exterior influences instructors could not control, like exposure to programming and computer science. Students had exposure to MySpace, where you had to edit the background to have a background drop or music's drop when somebody clicks their page, or some kind of feature of that in MySpace. A personality characteristic. Somebody's just detail-oriented. And back to my MySpace example, they went in there in the HTML viewer and figured out how to make other events happen, like click action. The learning environment. Teachers don't have any control of the lab environment or the university inventory of what's available to the students, and their students' previous achievements in the introduction of computer science back in their high school courses. How computer science retention is examined. It is examined by the student's perception of information transmission orientation to teaching. Teacher's directness. So teachers saying this will be on the test, this will be on the exam. You will see this again. The building blocks of what the teacher is saying, hey, take note, you will receive this again. The perception of peer cooperation and interaction within a course section is also how computer science retention is examined. The cooperative learning. So when somebody works with somebody else in the project, peer programming. All these questions, all these perceptions is all the computer science retention is how it's examined. Bring us to the greater question of, will a student enroll in another computer science course or class? The perception of the classroom. Perception is different for every student on the first day. From biases from people being in the course, from people getting the syllabus before the course starts. The teacher gets a better understanding how the students feel about the course and understand about the courses at the end of the course evaluations. Students that are more satisfied in the class are less likely to cheat in the class. Students felt less of a personal connection to their teacher or their instructor. That's why they felt more inclined to cheat. Students reported less engagement during the class, so they were just lost in the sauce and didn't understand, and they started scrapping to figure out how to pass. Students felt distant from the group, or their time didn't match with the group and with their classmates, so they didn't participate. And students were less satisfied with the course, or most likely to cheat. Learning goal types. There are 2 learning goal types that was in this paper. The mastery goal is fully understanding the course. Being able to retain the knowledge is a building block for the 100 level to 200 level class. Students who thought that the grading was above average were less likely to set mastery goals. Then there's performance goals. There was 2 types of performance goals. There's performance avoidance. This is the person that doesn't really want to get in front of the class, that just avoids it. Then you have the performance approach, which is the peer-to-peer, doing better than the other person in the class. So in this case, in the performance approach, that if the highest grade on the test was a 90, if a bell curve was implemented by a teacher, that 90 would turn to 100. So that peer-to-peer, as long as I get close to the person that got that 90, that peer-to-peer approach, I'll pass the class. The retention. Mentoring students conducted at Howard Hughes Medical Institution at Louisiana University showed 6-year higher graduation rates when they had a mentoring program. This is when the graduate took an undergraduate underneath their wing to figure out how the student would get through the courses, or how the graduate student did it. Universities that have the interactive events or social STEM oriented events have proven to increase the retention, to capture the students' attention and to keep them involved with what's going on. Time and resources must be available for the extra support. Budgets are tight in universities, an increasing number of students with less resources. One way teachers try to combat this is peer programming activities, where one person's a programmer and the other person's an auditor, or one person's programming and the other person is doing code debugging, and they comment on the code. This also is another way teachers try to go around or try to compensate for the time and resources not being able to allocate for more interactive events. The data sample. The data was approved by a University Institutions Review Board. This is an organization that ensures that the welfare of the humans are human, and make sure they are okay during the research. So the research was humanely done. The sample of the students was 607, 213 freshmen, 206 sophomores, 129 juniors, 59 seniors. 502 were male and 105 were female. 25 unique sections were pulled from this. So that means 5 levels from 100 classes, from level 100 classes. 1 was 200 level, 3 were 300 level, and 5 were 400 level. And 25 unique section numbers of the cluster, how it was made in a multi-level model level. And the thing I did note, they didn't do an age pool inside the study, which that's a comment that I'll go into the future studies. The survey was based data collection. Surveys were taken 3 times. The first time was at the beginning of the semester. The second time was during midterms, and the final time was during the evaluations. The surveys measured the students' motivation, self-regulation, course-related effort, studies, and behaviors, perception of the classroom's institutional as well as the demographic information. The study did not count the students that re-enrolled in the same course. The student's perception of the classroom knowledge building scale. The student's perception of the classroom is a course-specific institutional practice that measures self-regulation and use of the learning strategies. Question-asking behaviors. Perception of the classroom environment. Cooperative learning. This is the learning, like I mentioned before, learning in a group, as an ensemble, as a team. And teacher's directness. When a teacher directly says this will be on the test, this will be on the exam, highlight it and you will definitely see this again. The study used a shortened version of that contained 27 items. These items were, in this class, the instructional told us what was important information was. This is the teacher's directness. This is like in the Army, what we do an Army foot stomp. That captures everybody's attention. Make sure you write that down. Nebraska Assessment of Computing Knowledge. This measured the retention of the students and also the mastery in the material. 13 items were multiple choice test questions. That's how it was formatted. This is a self-reported survey. Are you considering a major or minor computer science? It was a yes or no, and this filtered into points that was clustered later on in the research. And The reason was to determine if the student was a computer science, computer engineer, science/engineering, or computer engineering. The multi-level model. To the right, you'll see the model that was used for this study. It makes it possible to account for multiple levels of clustering within data. The level 1 is the predictor variable. This variable had the course mean cooperative learning. This is two people learning as a group, as an ensemble, as a team. And this is also the course mean teacher's directness, when the teacher points out, or like I said earlier, the army foot stomp, when they stomp twice, about retention. This is working as a team, and the teacher directly saying this will be on the test. Then right below that bolded line you see on the right diagram, right below that is the level 2, is the student's perception. This is the yes or no survey. This is the understanding the material, the mastery, the major, the concept of mastery, the perceived cooperation learning, this is perceived teacher's directness, all tied into attention. The results of the research: majors, computer science engineering majors, or computer science majors were 45 times more likely to stay in computer science than considering computer science. Reason why is they already declared this as a major. Considering computer science majors were 22 times likely to enroll in another computer science class. And within the students understand the course that there was a higher chance of the student to take another computer science course. A higher cluster mean was noticed when CL, cooperative learning, again cooperative learning is them working as a team, as an ensemble, peer-to-peer programming, this understanding of what's going on to understand the mastery of the course, had a higher likelihood that the student would take an additional computer science course. The conclusion: the study went over 4 factors that involve retention in studying computer science. Students' perception of institutional practices, the class level indicators of institutional practices, student status as computer science major, and the final one, students' mastery of the course content, are associated with the likelihood of students will continue enrolling in computer science courses. The model that they used for the study only did the first 2 layers of the multi-leveling model. This is the contribution of the research. The large number of the course and levels were built for those 2 layers. For the order for the 3rd layer to be built in the study, they would need more data points. Compares retention and understanding the material. And also the contributions from recommending future works. The future works that the future research that the study also indicated was students' individual perception of the institutional practices with retention, the impact of more specific institutional practices on retention, i.e. active learning, peer programming, game-based learning, content-based instructions, and use of multimedia. Just on students that have declared computer science as a major or minor is also future studies and future research that can be conducted. These are my citations that I used. I'll give you a second to look at it. These are the additional citations that I used. And this concludes my presentation of my paper. Thank you, and everybody have a great day.